Howdy partners, it's so good to be here again. It's been a minute since I did a full video on the channel, so I'm happy to be back. In any case, The Long Walk is the latest in a long line of Stephen King books adapted into film. And it's not a half bad attempt either. The concept of the story of this event organized by this totalitarian government ruling over the United States of America is a rather bone-chilling reality. Every year, 50 boys from all over the country are chosen to go on this journey, where they must walk at a pace of at least 3 miles per hour. If they fall beneath that pace, they get a warning, and if you get 3 warnings, you get shot and killed on the spot. And this walk continues as long as it has to until there's only one boy remaining. Indeed, a rather grim game for all these boys to play. And I don't think we're gonna find a more appropriate director to helm this project, that being Francis Lawrence, who directed all the Hunger Games films apart from the first one. And I was very surprised to learn that JT Mulner, of all people, wrote the screenplay. He wrote and directed the fantastic and ever so surprising Strange Darling. It really was one of my surprise highlights of the year. So indeed, we have some prime talent to tackle this film, because it's not exactly an easy concept to translate the film, so I was very curious to see how they would bring it to the big screen. Not only because of the graphic horror nature of its story, the film does not shy away from the gore, it's not exactly an easy film to watch, but it's basically for the challenging fact that the entire film comprises of all these kids just walking. In the hands of less talented filmmakers, this could be a total snooze fest. Though luckily, the tension is present throughout the whole film. Though I will say the tone of the film is a little monotone in some sense, and I even found myself getting used to the violence at some point, which is actually a condemning commentary on our violence-saturated entertainment. Our protagonist, Ray Garrity, played by Cooper Hoffman, echoes that same sentiment in the film. But speaking of the monotone nature of the film, I do wish there was more variety in the events happening in the film. And especially me being a game developer, specifically a level designer, I really do wish that there was a lot more done with the terrain. Yes, there is one moment in the film where all the boys have to climb this steep hill, and it was an intense and dramatic moment, don't get me wrong. But otherwise, for the entire film, it's basically flat terrain. It would have been nice to see them try something. Some cracked concrete, making some uneven terrain, broken glass along their path with their worn out shoes. I mean, anything, please? And though I do criticize the film's monotony, and I think tonally in terms of its visual language, I think it actually works very well in its favor. The dreary atmosphere mirrors their dystopian reality. So in terms of the cinematography, I think they nailed it. And speaking of the cinematography, I appreciate a lot of the symbology and imagery we see in the film, specifically when it comes to the animals. There's some really interesting stuff done there. And I remember when I was leaving the cinema with my friend, we had a very interesting chat on the way back home. It would seem the more we would pick apart the symbology and imagery in the film, the more we would uncover. And incidentally, the discussion is one of the aspects that bring the most soul to the film. Throughout their whole journey, while these boys are walking, they're philosophizing and challenging each other in some really interesting ways where they question each other's morals and ethics. And the chemistry of the entire cast is great. This is quite the motley crew of youngsters, where they each have their own personality and quirks. Mark Hamill, of course, makes an appearance as the Major, being the main villain, if you will, of this film, and he does a serviceable job, all things considered. But for me, I'm most impressed by the two leads of this film. Cooper Hoffman is making his father proud, no pun intended, but he is filling his father's shoes with a lot of talent, and I can't wait to see where his career goes next. Though if I have one constructive criticism against his performance in this film, there is a moment later in the film, without going into too much detail of course, where I do feel he should be showing a lot more pain. There's something going on with his shoes later in the film that should severely impact his mental and physical well-being, and yet he seems pretty much unfazed as far as I can tell. However, the ultimate acting highlight as far as I'm concerned in this film goes to David Johnson, who once again gives a remarkable performance. I last saw him in Alien Romulus and I had pretty much the same sentiment, so I'm very excited to see where his near and immediate future acting career goes. Definitely an actor to watch. So I really appreciate this film. Do I think this is necessarily the greatest Stephen King adaptation to film? Perhaps not, but it's pretty solid all things considered, which is why I'm ranging from a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. A grim concept that gives quite a lot to think about. I particularly love the sense of brotherhood that was built in this film, and all the philosophizing that they share between each other. So with all that being said, wishing you and your loved ones nothing but the best. Take care and talk to you soon.